This is the second part of my story. The story of how I fell for my boss, a woman named Claire. I never expected my first real crush to feel like this. Not soft or gentle, but shocking, overwhelming. Something that hit me before I even realized what was happening. And I certainly never expected it to be for her. For a woman. Working beside Claire felt like walking a thin line between desire and discipline. Every morning I told myself to stay calm, professional, composed. But one look at her short white hair, her sharp black suit, those impossibly blue eyes, and every promise I made to myself dissolved instantly. The days after our first evening together became a blur of stolen glances and silent conversations. We didn't touch. We barely spoke more than necessary. And yet, something was always there. Whenever she walked past my desk, I felt it before I saw her. That quiet pull, that awareness. Sometimes she paused beside me to ask about a project, leaning just close enough for me to feel the faint scent of her perfume. Soft, clean, addicting. Our eyes met too often, too easily, too warmly. During meetings, I tried to focus on the documents, but my gaze always drifted to her hands, her jawline, the way she pushed her hair back when she was thinking. Little details that somehow felt intimate, even though they shouldn't have. She caught me staring more than once. She didn't scold me, she didn't look away. She just held my gaze for a heartbeat too long, with a hint of a smile that made my chest tighten. And I knew she felt it too, even if neither of us dared to say it. I tried to hide my feelings. I really did. But emotions are stubborn things, especially when they're the kind you've never felt before. When I walked into a room she was in, something inside me lifted. Bright, warm, impossible to ignore. At lunch, I found myself scanning the cafe automatically, looking for her white hair among the crowd. Every time I found her, even from across the room, her eyes softened just a little. My co-workers noticed something in my expression, I think. They teased me gently for glowing lately. I laughed it off, but inside my heart raced. Keeping it all inside was exhausting. Every moment with her felt like a secret, a beautiful, dangerous secret. The hardest moments were business meetings, sitting across the table from her, listening to her voice, watching her confidence, trying not to let my face betray everything I felt. It was torture, the sweet kind. Sometimes, during presentations, our knees brushed accidentally under the table. Just a fraction of a second, but enough for my breath to hitch. She never apologized. She never pulled away quickly. Instead, she continued speaking as if nothing happened, except her eyes flickered toward mine for the briefest heartbeat. I kept asking myself, is this real? Am I imagining it? Is she just being kind? But then she'd look at me with that softness, that warmth, that subtle tension beneath every word. And I knew I wasn't imagining anything. We were both holding something inside, something unspoken, something beautiful and terrifying and irresistible. One evening, the office was clearing out after a long meeting. People grabbed their bags, said their goodnights, disappeared into the elevator. I stayed behind, organizing documents, pretending to focus. Claire approached quietly. I knew it was her before she spoke. I always knew. "Are you heading home soon?" she asked. I swallowed. "Not yet." She nodded slowly, her eyes lingering on mine. Then, with a softness I had never heard from her before, she said, "Come to dinner with me tonight." My heart nearly stopped. She didn't phrase it as a question. It wasn't a command either. It was an invitation she already knew I'd accept. I whispered, "Yes." Her smile, small, warm, real, felt like a secret gift. When Claire suggested we go to dinner together, her voice was calm, almost casual, but something in it carried warmth, a quiet invitation I felt all the way down to my fingertips. Inside, everything bloomed at once. A bright, trembling happiness I couldn't hide, even if I tried. Outside, the city was glowing. Claire touched the small of my back as we walked toward the curb. Gentle, confident, like she'd done it 1,000 times, and yet my whole body reacted as if it was the first. A yellow taxi slid through the neon lights and stopped in front of us. Claire opened the door for me with effortless elegance, the kind that made my breath catch. When she sat beside me, the city blurred outside the window, but I couldn't look away from her. Her profile in the passing lights, the way she relaxed slightly when she noticed I was nervous. And every time our eyes met, she gave me a soft, knowing smile. A smile that said, "I love looking at you, and I'm not going to hide it." The restaurant was quiet and warm, tucked away near the river, glowing with soft golden light. Inside, everything felt slowed down. The music, the movement of waiters, even my heartbeat. Claire pulled out my chair, her hand brushing mine for just a second. But it was enough to set every nerve in my body awake. We ordered red wine. The glasses shimmered between us, and for a moment it felt like the whole city existed only outside our window, quietly glowing for us and no one else. Our conversation flowed softly. Gentle teasing, quiet laughter, small confessions that felt strangely intimate. Sometimes we fell silent, but those moments were even more tender, filled with warmth, filled with something dangerously close to longing. Her leg brushed mine under the table. Lightly, maybe by accident, maybe not. She didn't move away. Neither did I. Claire spoke to me the way no one had ever spoken before. Attentive, warm, a little flirtatious, as if she was discovering something about me she truly liked. At one moment, she leaned in slightly, her voice lower, softer. "I'm really glad you came with me tonight." My heart almost stopped. It felt unreal. Sitting across from the woman I had fallen for, my boss, the woman who made my days brighter just by walking into a room. And now she was here with me. Her voice warm, her eyes gentle, her presence overwhelming in the sweetest way. For the first time, I allowed myself to feel it fully. The happiness, the desire, the quiet hope, and I wasn't afraid of it anymore. When we stepped out of the restaurant, the night felt warmer than before. Or maybe it was just me. My head was spinning not from the wine, but from the way Claire walked beside me. Slow, deliberate, as if she was choosing every moment we shared. She looked at me when the taxi pulled up. Really looked. And with a soft, steady voice, she said, "Come home with me." My breath caught. Something inside me lifted, weightless, trembling with anticipation I had never felt before. I nodded before my voice could find its way back to me. We slid into the back seat, and the city moved around us in shimmering waves of light. Claire's hand found mine. Not by accident this time, but with intention. Her thumb brushed my skin in slow, thoughtful circles, grounding me even as my heartbeat quickened. I wasn't nervous. I was overwhelmed by how right it felt. When we walked into her penthouse, the world seemed to fall silent. Floor-to-ceiling windows opened onto the night sky, New York glowing beneath us in silver and gold. The room smelled faintly of jasmine and something warm, something unmistakably her. She took my coat, her fingers grazing my shoulders. A touch so soft it felt like a promise. Claire stepped closer, very close. Her eyes searched mine, asking without words. I answered without words too. When she leaned in, her lips brushed mine gently, like she was giving me time to pull away. I didn't. The kiss deepened, slow and warm, full of everything we'd been trying to hide. Her hands slid to my waist, drawing me closer. Mine found the curve of her jaw, the softness beneath all that confidence. Heat, tenderness, relief, wonder. She whispered my name against my lips, and something inside me melted completely. Claire guided me toward the windows, where the whole city shimmered behind her hair, like a constellation made just for us. Her forehead rested against mine, her breath mingling with mine, her hands holding me like she had waited a very long time for this. And when the moment finally pulled us deeper, when closeness blurred into something intimate, something real, it felt inevitable, like a story that had always been waiting to happen. The lights of New York flickered around us, but all I could feel was her. Everything else faded, everything else disappeared. It's indescribable, falling in love with her. Not just any woman, but my boss. The one I've admired from afar, the one who quietly commands my heart. The tenderness, the warmth, the way every glance and touch feels electric. I want you to feel this with me. I don't yet know what lies ahead for us, but soon, I'll tell you everything.